Hello everyone, good evening, it's good to see you. The raging war in the Punjab Congress between Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu has arrived at a truce. For good measure, let me add, for the moment. The compromise formula is this. Mr. Sidhu, on the warpath for the last 1 year, has been appeased with the post of Punjab Congress President. The captain obviously is not very happy with the developments, but has little choice given that Mr. Sidhu has the backing of the Gandhi siblings. Now, the infighting in the Grand Old Party isn't just restricted to Punjab. In Madhya Pradesh, it has resulted in the fall of their government. In Rajasthan, Karnataka and Jharkhand, the bad blood between top leaders is out in the open. Not that the central leadership is very stable either. Sonia Gandhi has been interim president for the last 2 years. Rahul Gandhi is showing absolutely no inclinations of leading the party. And Priyanka Gandhi is still reluctant to overshadow her brother. A party that has ruled India for 54 years is facing an existential crisis and has been for a while. We're taking a deeper look at that on Debrief today. First, the Punjab story and where it has reached. It's an ongoing political test match where Navjot Singh Sidhu has stumped his captain, Amarinder Singh, at least for the moment. The referees, that is the Gandhis, have managed to broker a peace deal. Mr. Sidhu becomes the Punjab Congress Chief, displacing the captain's pet Sunil Jakhar. But his dream of becoming the Punjab Chief Minister will have to wait. The Congress will fight the upcoming election under the leadership of the tried and tested captain.
जो कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट का डिसीजन होगा पंजाब के विषय में, जब तक कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट बात को क्लियर नहीं करती है, तब तक मुझे भी जानकारी इस बात की नहीं हो सकती है कि इनफैक्ट उनका लास्ट डिसीजन क्या हो.
Needless to say, Captain Amarinder Singh is upset. He does not have a choice but to deal with his pet peeve Sidhu, given that the elections are just round the corner. Mr. Sidhu, though, had Plan B ready. He had garnered the support from at least 5 cabinet ministers and 10 to 15 MLAs. Had he not been named the PPCC Chief, the group may have quit unanimously, leading to a split in the party. What swung the deal for Mr. Sidhu is his closeness to the Gandhis, especially Priyanka. Navjot Singh Sidhu draws his power from the Gandhi siblings and isn't afraid to show it. The captain, on the other hand, is cool, at times even dismissive of Rahul and Priyanka. And he has kept Sidhu in check so far. Sidhu is a star campaigner for the party in other states, but in his home state Punjab, the captain has done his best so far to ensure that the former cricketer did not venture out of the pavilion. Sidhu, on the other hand, has constantly needled the chief minister. He has accused him of being corrupt, of being a liar, of going slow in the Kotkapura firing case, of going soft on the Badals, and not wholeheartedly supporting farmers protesting against the farm laws. The bickering between the two has been legendary.
मेरे कैप्टन राहुल गांधी हैं, उन्होंने तो भेजा है हर जगह. क्या बात कर रहे हो यार? कौन से कैप्टन की बात कर रहे हो यार? हाँ, ओ कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह जी की, वो तो आर्मी के कैप्टन है भाई.
He probably wants to become chief minister and replace me. That's his business.
Navjot Singh Sidhu joined the Congress in 2007 after leaving the BJP. He contested and won from Amritsar and was seen as a prize catch for his ability to attract eyeballs with his Sidhuisms.
अगर अपनी तरफ देखूं तो कुछ नहीं पल्ले. भगवान की रहमत और खेड़ा के प्यार को देखूं तो सिद्धू की बल्ले बल्ले. पिछले 20 साल में अगर किसी ने सबसे ज्यादा इज्जत कमाई है तो हमारी अध्यक्षा.
The Gandhis love him and Sidhu often returns that love, openly praising the Gandhis from stage and giving credit to Priyanka Gandhi Vadra for him joining the Congress.
मिट्टी का ढेला गुलाबों की क्यारी में आ गया, क्योंकि आकाश की कोई सीमा नहीं, पृथ्वी का कोई तोल नहीं, साधु की कोई जात नहीं, पारस और सोनिया जी का कोई तोल नहीं, कोई मोल नहीं.
Back then, the captain had looked on with a frozen face. It was clear to him that a problem child had been dumped on him. Used to calling the shots in Punjab, the captain's authority was constantly and publicly being challenged by Sidhu. It came to a head in 2019 when Sidhu and his wife both quit the Amarinder Singh cabinet. The captain had called Sidhu a non-performer.
Every day I receive what is the power situation in the state. Now that's the job of the minister to do, but if he doesn't want to do it, then I can't do anything about that.
Out of government, Sidhu continued to needle the captain, especially when he landed up at the Kartarpur corridor opening on the invite of Imran Khan.
ਇਹਦਾ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਆਰਮੀ ਚੀਫ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੀ ਯਾਰੀ ਦਿਖਾਉਣੀ ਔਰ ਜੱਫੀਆਂ ਪਾਉਣੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨੀ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਗੇ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਨੂੰ।
ਜੱਫੀ ਤੇ 1 ਸਕਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਸੀ, ਕੋਈ ਰਫੇਲ ਡੀਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਉਹ।
Now the two Sardars have no choice but to team up. Can they work together? Let's just say, picture abhi baki hai. In New Delhi, I'm Shreya Dhoundial. Mr. Sidhu is a restless maverick, one who has already burnt his bridges with the BJP and the Akali Dal, the other two parties in Punjab. His flirtation with the Aam Aadmi Party hasn't gone very far either. So the Congress it is for Mr. Sidhu. Mr. Sidhu and Punjab, of course, are not the only migraine for the Congress party. A weak leadership at the centre has seen major ego wars in other states as well.
As Congress's footprint in the country shrinks, the disarray within the party is spreading. State after state tells the story of the grand old party imploding. Let's take Punjab, which even after a decision on who will captain the polls is unlikely to see an end to the infighting. The attempt by the Gandhis to find a working relationship between Sidhu and Amarinder Singh is elusive, and this could have an impact on the poll results. Rajasthan is all set to face another desert storm. It's been more than 6 months since the Gandhis promised Sachin Pilot that his supporters will be accommodated in key government posts and his future would be taken care of. To his supporters, this means that he could be made the chief minister ahead of polls. But the committee set up to sort out the issue has met about 3 times and there is still no headway to a solution.
कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष ने, पूर्व अध्यक्ष राहुल गांधी जी ने, प्रियंका जी ने, हम सब ने विस्तार से आज चर्चा करी और हमारे जो साथी विधायक हैं उन सब की बातों को, उन सब के कंसर्न्स को हमने प्लेटफॉर्म पर रखा है और मुझे आश्वासित भी किया गया है। मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं इस बात का कि ये 3 सदस्यीय कमेटी बनकर बहुत जल्द उन तमाम मुद्दों का निराकरण करेंगे जो मुद्दे हम लोगों ने उठाए हैं।
With Jitin Prasada and Scindia moving to the BJP after waiting for some elevation, all eyes are on Sachin Pilot. Even though Pilot insists he will never join the BJP and fight it out here.
सब चीजों के ऊपर काम चल रहा है, सबसे हम लोग बात करके और अच्छे लोगों को हम लोग जो है नियुक्ति कर रहे हैं।
In Chhattisgarh, where the Congress has an overwhelming 3/4 majority, the rumblings have begun. When Congress first came to power in the state, it was felt that then PCC Chief T.S. Sidhu would be the Chief Minister. But Rahul Gandhi backed Bhupesh Baghel with an assurance to T.S. Sidhu that he would be made the Chief Minister after 2.5 years. But the top leadership now seems reluctant. So much so that Baghel, who has used this time to strengthen his position in the state and build a bond with the Gandhi siblings, indicates that such promises need not be kept. Interestingly, this assertion by Baghel comes after he had over a 3-hour-long meeting with Priyanka Gandhi Vadra.
उन्होंने कहा कि आपको मुख्यमंत्री शपथ लेना है। मैं जाकर शपथ लिए, हाईकमान का आदेश था। हाईकमान ने प्रभारी महामंत्री के माध्यम से हमको जानकारी दी और वहाँ विधायक दल में सूचना दी गई, हम जाकर शपथ लिए। अब जिस दिन हाईकमान का आदेश आएगा कि आपको नहीं रहना है, आपकी जगह दूसरा बनेगा तो दूसरा बन जाएगा।
2 states which come up for polls soon are facing infighting. In Karnataka, it's the clash of the PCC chief and a former chief minister. DK Shivkumar has hired a PR firm to build his persona as a fighter who took on the ED and the BJP. Again, he has the backing of the Gandhis. But former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah is no pushover. He has refused to contest the next Lok Sabha polls, making it clear to the Gandhis that he is in the reckoning. The differences between the two came out in the open recently when DK Shivkumar said doors were open to those who had left the party, while Siddaramaiah opposed any such move.
Anyone want to become a member of the Congress party, they can apply.
ಹಳೆಯಾದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ 14 ಜನ ಸೇರಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
Next comes Haryana. Here too, the Hoodas are flexing their muscles, and recently, Bhupinder Hooda flaunted his strength by holding a meeting with his supporters. He has been insisting that his arch opponent in the state, Kumari Shelja, be removed. Congress sees an opportunity in the state, with Manohar Lal Khattar being seen as an unpopular leader. Fact is, minus the Hoodas, the Congress may be at a disadvantage. But Shelja has the backing of the Gandhis, and hence the strife.
There should be a decentralization as far as the decision making goes. But this has become top heavy. The Gandhis call the shots. But more importantly, they also have their own favorites, which many feel perhaps best explains why in state after state there is massive infighting, which is leading the party to be in a state of drift. In New Delhi, Pallavi Ghosh.
Let me go straight across to Rashid Kidwai, who is joining us on the broadcast for a quick chat. Rashid ji, all is well that ends well in Punjab. How long are you expecting this peace to last?
Shreya, I think that peace formula that has been brokered will work. It's just that there are some hiccups are there. And Gandhis, because they are out of power, that high command is very weak and vulnerable. So therefore, they are not able to push through. They need to tame both sides in the sense of going public and, presenting a united face of the party. So this is, if they do this, then it will work. Remember, factionalism is an integral part of our Indian political system. You look at BJP, which has a very powerful high command. State after state, we are seeing latest in Karnataka, there are some kind of differences and tussle, one-upmanship is there. Ultimately, Shreya, the big thing is whether you are electorally successful or not. Electoral success is something that defines everything, and Congress needs to work on that direction.
So, Rashid Kidwai, this is what I don't understand. Mr. Sidhu is someone who is untested. The captain is a winning chief minister for you, someone who has won successive elections for you. Then why back Sidhu vis-a-vis the captain?
Shreya, we must remember politics is always, evolving. It's not something static. So, captain was very much relevant. I agree. His past, his present, he speaks volume. But what about the future? The Congress internal assessment is, and other assessments are also that under captain's leadership, Congress may not make it. So they need Sidhu, who's a little unconventional politician. And by bringing Sidhu, it's not just Kartarpur Sahib stand, but the way he talks and speaks. So somehow this incumbency factor, that anti-incumbency factor working against captain, that perhaps be, diluted if not erased. Okay. So you have a new face, like exactly what BJP did in Assam.
Okay. So last question, 40 seconds. Is the Congress top leadership out of ideas, or is it sending a signal that the satraps may have ruled their states for a while, but we are the ones in charge and ultimately we are the ones that will take a call, even if it means sacrificing your election winning satraps, not just in Punjab, other places as well?
Yes, so Congress leadership is emerging from a long slumber, inactivity, inertia, etc. So it will take some time for it to establish its supremacy and upper hand, and that's where I think Priyanka Gandhi is very important, because she's the one who's trying to bring everyone together and open some new vistas. Some new opening is being made. Let's see how it shapes up. But I'm quite sure by October, Punjab and Congress, things will crystallize, because there will still be 3 months to go for elections.
All right. Rashid, thank you very much for that quick chat. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. A quick break. Up next, the P factor in the Congress, not just Priyanka Gandhi, but Prashant Kishore as well. What's he doing? That's up next. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The Sidhu saga has settled for the moment in Punjab, largely because the Gandhis, especially Priyanka Gandhi, has put her weight behind Mr. Sidhu. Increasingly, she is the face of the party on most major issues. But there is another P who is making his presence felt as well. That's Prashant Kishore. Take a look.
The ruling family of the oldest party in India might remind you of a Greek tragedy. There's the older ruler who's desperate to leave her throne. There's a bitter heir reluctant to occupy it after an unhealthy past experience. And then there's the people's favorite, made for the throne, yet is keeping everyone guessing. For all her public declarations of wanting to play the supporting act, there's no denying the discreet rise of Priyanka Gandhi within the corridors of power in Congress. August 2020. The Congress Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan walks out of his party, incensed at his Chief Minister. All indications are of Sachin Pilot bringing his government down and backing the BJP. But it was only the last-minute intervention of Priyanka that got Pilot pacified enough to fly back to base and keep the government afloat. June 2021, DK Shivakumar, for long the workhorse behind the Congress in Karnataka, now gets the muscle to take on Siddaramaiah and flex his dominance. The leader who pushed for his elevation as state chief, none other than Priyanka Gandhi. But the final and most decisive act seems to be playing out now. Navjot Singh Sidhu has defiantly taken on the tallest leaders of the party and his own chief minister. Yet, unlike Amarinder, Sidhu gets repeated audiences with the Gandhi family. The source of his power is his close friendship with Priyanka Gandhi, said to be a big supporter of Shreya. As an elder brother, once seen as the man to lead the Congress, is increasingly turning reticent with his eye on the southern states. It's Priyanka Gandhi who has not just become the face of the Congress in Uttar Pradesh, but is also playing her hand in key party decisions at a national level. But perhaps her ace in the hole is another P, Prashant Kishore. The election strategist who has led many a savvy politician from Modi to Mamta to victory triggered furious speculation when he met the three Gandhis earlier this week. His first meeting with Rahul Gandhi in years. The buzz is that while PK and Rahul's relations soured after the election loss, the ace strategist always kept his line of communication open with Priyanka. And after having had multiple meetings with both Mamta and Sharad Pawar in the past few weeks, PK could be the thread that stitches together a grand opposition alliance in 2024, with Priyanka possibly being his needle within the Congress. With inputs from Pallavi Ghosh, Ritanshu Bhattacharya for CNN News 18.
Back to Punjab, will the forced truce between Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu last? Well, that is $1 million question, but I can tell you that Mr. Sidhu has a history of walking out on his captains, both on and off the field.
And since my eyesight wasn't good, just tempt.
The year was 1996.
Sidhu, he's played that shot beautifully.
Navjot Singh Sidhu, Indian cricket team's swashbuckling opening batsman, sent the entire nation into a tizzy by walking out on his captain midway during the tour of England. It took 15 years for the truth to come out. Sidhu was incensed by the cuss words hurled at him by Mohammad Azharuddin. Sidhu returned to the team 6 months later, but the message was clear. Shreya would not take anything lying down, even from his captain, even if it meant abandoning his team. 25 years later, Sidhu looks set to run out his captain once again. Only this time, it could be at the risk of stranding the entire Congress party.
सत्य के मार्ग पे चल के ही परम पद पाए। पंजाब के सच और हक की आवाज मैंने हाई कमांड को बुलंद आवाज में बताई है। जीतेगा पंजाब, पंजाब को जिताना है। पंजाब के हर एक नागरिक को हिस्सेदार बनाना है, भागीदार बनाना है और इस ताकत को उन तक पहुंचाना है।
Earlier this month, Sidhu insisted that he's still batting for his party, but in a telling indication, he made no reference to his chief minister, the man one would assume to be the captain of the Congress's ship in Punjab. Sidhu's comments came after a livid Amarinder Singh had torn into him earlier this year, accusing him of openly wanting to quit the party after repeatedly attacking his chief minister. One could sympathize with Amarinder as, after all, Sidhu has a history of walking out on his party after not getting his way. The former Amritsar MP had sulked after his ticket was given by the BJP to Arun Jaitley for the 2014 Lok Sabha polls, and then famously walked out on both his party and the Rajya Sabha 2 years later.
4 इलेक्शन जीतने के बाद राज्यसभा देके ये कहा जाता है, सिद्धू पंजाब से दूर रहो। किसकी इच्छा से, किस वजह से?
Only to walk into the waiting arms of the Gandhis, who continue to be his fans till today.
दोस्तों, I'm a born congressman. I'm a born congressman.
But this so-called born congressman quit his government 2.5 years later, taking his feud with his chief minister to a point of no return.
Yesterday I was told that he has sent his resignation to the Congress president. Today I am told that he has delivered it in the house in Chandigarh this morning. So when I get back to Chandigarh tomorrow day after, then I will have a look.
For now, the most watched man in the state insists that he will walk out of any position in power if he stops in building a Punjab model.
Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar said that the governments are by the people, for the people. What have you done for the people? Tell me.
Cricketer, commentator, comedy show judge, MP, minister. Navjot Singh Sidhu has played in every possible position in his career except for being the captain himself. That will truly be the cherry on top, as the man's Twitter bio describes himself. But in his haste to hit the defining six of his career, will Sidhu end up being hit wicket? Ritangshu Bhattacharya for CNN News 18.
Never a dull moment in India's politics. With that, it's a wrap from me. Thanks for watching.